Warning, this podcast contains graphic language. What's going on out there, MGTOW? What's going on out there in sales? You're right here at AKA Kendall Regan Podcast or KDR. Welcome to the shit show, gentlemen. I'm right here in the Pacific Northwest, podcasting it up all across the world, baby.
Headshot.
So no further ado, let's start with the intro and see who's out there tonight, because tonight podcast is gonna be very interesting, gentlemen. So buckle up your seatbelt, take your red pill, and let's do this shit. So here we go, the intro.
It's getting serious on this track, fam.
Again, I respect Kendall Regan. I do. Oh, you simping for some pussy, bitches. I'll be a simp all day. Fuck you. Oh, you simping for some pussy, bitches.
All right. So here we go. Just bear with me. Before I start the sound bites and stuff like that, let me organize. I'm just one man out here after the grind, for heaven's sake. And trying to spread a little knowledge out there. That's all. So I'm gonna start with some MGTOW shit. Those who knows me, I used to do the walk and talk MGTOW shit. I don't have the liberty to do it, but I've been talking about this subject for many years, and understanding how polluted and corrupted the school system is. So I'm gonna play you soundbite here briefly, if you bear with me, because I gotta do something here. I'll switch this bad boy to this speaker. You hear that thing? That's the speaker. I gotta put in this other device. I don't have a fancy studio or anything like that. I'm just one man band out here in the shit show. And just bear with me. Let me see. Trying to connect this bad boy with another bad boy. Just bear with me here. Let me see what we rock and rolling. So I live in the Pacific Northwest, right? And they got these I'm right here in the dungeon when it comes down to these libtards, leftists, maniacs, and stuff like that. I'm here. I see shit on a daily. All right. So I'm gonna play you a little soundbite here from the local news regarding to this matter with these people. They dress themselves like opposite sex or gender. It used to be sex and it's gender, stuff like that. And it's a female teacher, and I've been talking about teachers for quite some time. And I want to keep this very pithy, right? You can look up Kendall Regan Podcast on Spotify. I've been talking about the abuse of the school system with female teachers and boys and stuff like that. But this happened today, and you just happen to go in my feed and stuff like that. After work, I just, check out my feed, check out this, what's going on, I don't have a wife. I don't have kids. You know, stuff like that. I have family members and shit like that. What I mean, I have kids, but they don't cohabitate with me. So, you know, my mind is free after work and stuff like that, right? And I found this very interesting. So let me play you a soundbite. In my area, well, it's not really my area. I live south of this area, but I conduct business in that area. It's called Gig Harbor. Gig Harbor is, have you guys seen the pictures in black and white where the bridge goes sideways, 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 and finally falls apart? So that's called the Narrows Bridge. And it's go from Tacoma to Gig Harbor, right? And Gig Harbor is very uppity class, conservative folks out there. And, you know, I go out there like at least once a month to conduct business and stuff like that. So I want to play you some bites from the local news out here so you can see how crazy these people are out here. Now, just bear with me because this is a teacher, okay? Let me see here. Let me see if I can find it. All right, yeah. I think I got on deck. I think. Let me see. They play commercials or something like that. He went to Hell in a Handbasket. My whole thing. I had everything set up because I got sound bites and shit like that. So now I have to go back and do this thing. So let me turn this down because I don't want no commercials going on and shit. Let me see. Okay, so we in
online hate.
Yeah, the English teacher has faced a lot of online.
All right.
At Gig Harbor.
All right, so it's online hate. Online hate, okay? Online hate to a teacher. Online hate to a teacher. And I found this fascinating. I really do. Well, let me play the soundbite. Before I get to the nitty gritty of the subject that I want to talk about, that I really care about. I don't give a fuck about a teacher out there. All these teachers been doing bullshit for a long time. So I don't give a fuck about these teachers and shit. I don't. But I find it hilarious.
Harbor teacher is quitting their day job over online hate.
Yeah, the English teacher has faced a lot of online backlash over their job, their side job, that is, as a drag performer. Camera 7's Deborah Horn spoke to them.
The allegation is that the teacher posted about their drag performance in a sexually explicit manner online. Those critics contend that that means that teacher should no longer be here at Peninsula High School.
I taught English at Peninsula High School, but I've taught at all the high schools in Peninsula School District.
That is until last Monday, when Kay Wayne says they quit because of what they say was cyberbullying by a local online.
So let me describe this chick. This chick is a chick. She got the sideburns, shave and stuff like that. Look like a mullet and shit. I see these bitches all the fucking time. It's normal to see this psychopath out there. And I cannot believe they teach in high school. She's like 25, 27, you know? Looking like a maniac. Trying to teach high schoolers and stuff. But check this out.
Conservative commentator. Is it hard to look at? No.
I've seen it. I don't care.
Wayne says the online posts were impacting their day job.
The working conditions in my environment were not hospitable due to community pressure and also because of videos that have come out defaming me. And
those videos about Kay Wayne's alter ego, a drag king, they say they perform outside of work. They say it wasn't a secret to the Peninsula School District.
The initial interview, I was very upfront about it. It was like, I need you to know that this is what I do on the side. Mm-hmm. This is very important to me, and like, if you don't accept this, then I don't want to work for you, frankly.
That was back in 2021. This student says he would be fine if the teacher returned.
Yeah.
And so, as far as you're concerned, you'd be fine if they came back?
Yeah, I just think that online stuff should stay online. Maybe make your accounts private.
But Wayne says the pressure was too great for them to stay.
And my students deserve me at my 100%.
Out of work, but not out of options, that teacher says. Their plan is to apply for work next time in the private sector. I did hear from the commentator Wayne accuses of costing them their job. The commentator says no one forced them to quit, that, quote, they made a choice to quit their job rather than face their students after their sexually explicit public posts came to light. Wayne says they plan to continue doing the thing they love.
So here we go. The students. It was the students themselves. Say, fuck this shenanigan. Fuck this bullshit. You want to be a drag king? What the fuck? Who wants to be a drag king? This is the insanity that I live at, gentlemen. Alright? What, 11 minutes? So I just want to put a little bit make talk, because women don't want to take responsibility and accountability. Good. Quit. Go be a drag king 24/7. Don't teach this nonsense and shit in the public square and stuff like that. And trying to be a man and shit. With the internet and public. Hey, motherfucker want to do shit on private, put it on private. I understand a job is a job and your side hustle is your side hustle, but if you put your shit on public, guess what? People want to find out what the fuck you do. That's how it is. So you're like, oh, I'm going to quit and because of this. No, bitch. You did some shitty shit that people don't like out there. And yeah, quit. They didn't fire her. She quit. Go work at Seattle out there. Go work in Seattle out there with the rest of the maniacs. Anyways, enough about this shit. Let's get into the brass knuckles of stuff that I want to discuss here. Listen, gentlemen. This is my third video regarding to the matter of geoengineering. And I know you guys going to tell me or write comments why you talking about this stuff, because I live out here really close from military base with Air Force base and stuff like that. And I've been seeing this shit and I know I'm kind of like an expert, but not really an expert, but I know the history about it. I read documents about it, and it's open source government papers out there that anyone can look it up. You can Google it up and stuff like that. And my point of view, for a long time, there's been weather manipulation. I know that. But now, I know. It's weather warfare in this country. So, to reflect back, and I'm just gonna give you the briefly history about it. Well, actually, I don't have to do anything about it because I mentioned this in my 2 previous podcasts. But for last night live stream and stuff like that, let me see if I can find the soundbite, for heaven's sake. Let's see, let's do this thing here. Just bear with me, gentlemen. Just bear with me. Please bear with me. I'm just one man out here trying to do the God's work out here. So, I'm gonna play sound bites from 2015, modern age, all right? And then we're gonna move forward to what's happening right now. And the history of geoengineering is not new. It's actually very old. So they had these engineer scientists. You understand that when it comes down to geoengineering, those are subcontractors for the government. You understand that for the governments in the world and shit like that. And I remember watching this shit at that year, 2015. And it validated me that I wasn't crazy. It sounds crazy. Yes, I have to admit. Before I play the soundbite, yes, I do sound crazy. To you. But I'm not a crazy man. By far, I'm not. Before I play all these sound bites, I'm going to tell you a true story. Okay? It was like 7 years ago. My best friend Enrique, he only lived 1 mile away. He's a mechanic and he worked on cars at his home. Right? It's a beautiful day. Summertime out here in the Pacific Northwest. It's 89 degrees and stuff like that. He working on the car, I'm giving a little hand here and there, stuff like that. And I can see the lines on the sky. And I say, Enrique, I want to tell you something. You probably think I'm fucking crazy, but watch this. Watch this. I guarantee you tomorrow's going to rain. And I told him, watch those lines, how it's going to spread. And the clouds going to span and span. So I spent hours with him on that day, like 3 hours. I came back the next day around noon. It was raining. If I'm lying to you, gentlemen, I will not wake up tomorrow. Let the Lord kill me tomorrow if I'm lying to you. And then he went to his wife. True story. His wife did not believe him. After that, it take him a few times to look up the sky and do the math and shit like that. And then like 2 or 3 weeks later, he was like, man, you was right about this. My wife still do not believe me. I told him, listen, man, we closed from the Air Force Base. I've been watching this shit for the last 25 years. Not only that, I know the history about this shit. And I see it. I can tell. Around here, to us who live in the city out here in the Pacific Northwest, we've been knowing about this shit for years. It's not new to us. Unless you're a lip-tard out there and some dumb shit. But there's a lot of people, they do understand what's going on. What do you think Seattle rains a lot? Matter of fact, it goes so crazy that I'm driving from Seattle to Tacoma, and right at the county line is overcast in Seattle and I-5, and as soon as I hit Pierce County, as soon as it's fucking pouring as fuck. And this is like years ago. All right, that's enough about my story. So let's go and I'm going to play sound bites here, and you can take it or leave it, whatever. In my point of view, I think enough is enough, and people need to be awakening to the realization that is what is going on is I don't want to sound so dramatic, you know. I really don't, but what they're doing out here in the United States and just bear with me. And when I mean they, I don't know who they are, but the science is there. Why what is the reason why they're having this mass weapon of destruction? A mass weapon of destruction in the United States. According to the international papers, which I read myself, you're not allowed to use weather manipulation in other countries, but you're allowed to use it in your own country. It's there. Everything is there. Everything's there. I cannot make this shit up. I cannot, gentlemen. I cannot make this shit up. So, just bear with me because it's about to get out here real. And I think they're not gonna play this. I think, my personal opinion, I think they use this live stream right here. Most likely it's gonna be taken down. But hey, fuck it. It is what it is. So let's do this here. And just bear with me. Okay. And just give me a second here. Because I thought this is my third time talking about this subject, and because I really know about the history. I really know I live with it. I live with it. I can see it with my own fucking eyes. So just bear with me. And I thought, I was like, last night, you know, I was like, hold on, who else is talking about this shit? And my YouTube feed came out, PBDs, they kind of mentioned it a little bit, but they didn't have the whole clip like I did last night because they could not find it. But I did found it, and it's there. They play the old clip. Oh, shit. Damn it, speaker. Fuck. Just bear with me. All right, so let's see here. All right. So buckle up. I think we can do this. Let's see here. Just bear with me. The device is slow. I live in a city, but the block that I live at, to get internet, it takes a little bit of time and stuff like that. So you just bear with me. Okay. All right, so these before I play these soundbite here, for the rest of the podcast, I will discuss a little bit of geoengineering, which I already mentioned in my previous podcast. But not only that, I'm going to play you sound bites. All right. Oh, before I play this one, so let's talk about sound bites. So let's go here real quick and just bear with me.
How to change the weather on purpose.
Okay, so this is an engineer back in 2015. Dr. Michio Kaku. All right. He put this on the mainstream media. All right. So we're going to start from 2015, and then we're going to go back, and then we're going to move forward. Because this technology is not new. It's not new. So here we go. I know I played this last night, but I'm going to play it for tonight's sake.
That's right. Lasers now could one day manipulate rain and lightning. CBS This Morning contributor Michio Kaku is a physics professor at City College of New York. Professor, nice to see you. Extraordinary seeing Al Gore and Bill Clinton there together with Charlie, wasn't it?
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, they did not get into this discussion, though. But it is fascinating. I mean, lasers, really? To change the weather?
That's right. Well, as Mark Twain once famously said, everyone complains about the weather, but no one ever does anything about it. Well, in Instead of doing a rain dance, we physicists are firing trillion-watt lasers into the sky to actually precipitate rain clouds and actually bring down lightning bolts. This is potentially a game changer.
But this is experimental.
It's experimental. However, in the laboratory so far, it works. When you have water vapor and you have dust particles or ice crystals, you can precipitate rain. It condenses around the seeds. These seeds can also be created by laser beams. By firing trillion-watt lasers, you rip apart the electrons, creating what are called ions, and these ions act like seeds, like dust particles, bringing down rain and even lightning. Go ahead.
Well, this fascinates me in part because, too, I remember reading the stories that China had used this during the Olympics, that the USSR had used this after Chernobyl to create rain clouds. I mean, did those really work then? We have some of these capabilities now?
Inconclusive. Even in the 60s, the CIA used this to bring down monsoons during the Vietnam War, to wash out the Viet Cong. Governments have been playing with this thing.
Alleged to.
Alleged to, right.
Yeah.
Now, we realize that for decades now, these governments have been alleged to have experimented with weather control, but nothing conclusive. This time we're bringing in the laws of physics rather than simply waving our
What a
hands
bunch
and
of
uttering
fucking
mumbo jumbo.
bullshit.
We're actually using trillion-watt lasers now.
All right.
And in the laboratory, sure enough, they precipitate rain out of water vapor. Sure enough, you can actually bring down electricity down the beam.
So what does it mean for drought areas that need to have rain for crops, and if they don't have them, there's the consequences of famine?
Well, the bad news is, if it's a clear blue sky, it's not going to do anything at all, because it only takes water vapor that's already in the air and condenses it. However, for floods, for agriculture, farmers, for people planning wedding parties, football games, you name it, outdoor events in agriculture and flooding and even hurricanes, all of them could be subject to weather modification.
Incredibly interesting, Professor Michio Kaku. Thank you.
All right, so that was 2015, right? And like I mentioned previously, this is not a new technology. It's not. My question is, why are they using this technology to mass destruction in the United States? Why now? Why October? Why so many red states? Why Florida twice? You know, I asked the question why. And I've been a hurricane myself. So, let me play you a soundbite here. And it's going to be multiple sound bites. There's been a few YouTubers, a few casters, excuse me, talking about this subject. And like I say, like I said previously, I was like, I cannot be the only one who trying to connect the dots. Well, for some odd reason, I go to Infowars today by Alex Jones. Right. Before that, PVD kind of mentioned something like that. Today, it was a clip that I saw. Oh, I heard it because I'm driving, and you know, and I was like, holy shit! I was talking about this shit not only yesterday but last week, right? So today, I haven't been in Infowars in like a month or something like that. And guess what? They were talking about this shit. So I got stuck I got stuck like shit on rice. You're stuck. And I was like, holy fuck. I'm not the only one that have noticed this stuff. So, what I want to do, I want to share the sound bites right now. And then an interview with Alex Jones. And I forgot the individual, because you understand this thing. These people can manipulate the weather, right? But they also, we live in a very technology way that we can find out how they did manipulate the weather. It's the yin and the yang. You try this shit, guess what? How this came about? Why it gained speed in the Carolinas instead of dying down when they land on turf. They gain speed on the water. As soon as they hit land, they die down. Why they keep going? And they got this shit monitored, man. They got this shit monitored. If we don't talk about this stuff, nobody will. It's going to continue for another 200 years how they manipulate the weather. So I want to play you here a soundbite.
In the foundation for the development of a what?
My apologies. Here we go. Hold on 1 second.
It lays the predicate in the foundation for the development of a...
So this is Lyndon Johnson making a speech in one of these universities. Back in Lyndon Johnson was after Kennedy, so back in the 1960s. Yeah, Kennedy got assassinated, and then Lyndon Johnson became president. Yeah, Lyndon Johnson. It's black and white to describe the video.
Weather satellite that will permit man to determine the world's cloud layer and ultimately to control the weather, and he who controls the weather will control the world.
There are many known ways to control the weather, and the best way to steer it seems to be with the NEXRAD Doppler Weather Radar Network.
The circular blue flashes seen in this video are frequency transmissions from the NEXRAD network of transmitter installations. The brighter the blue flash from a frequency transmission installation, the more pronounced and powerful the repelling effect on any air mass or storm in the vicinity will be. Where there are no blue flashes, there is no transmission, thus no repelling effect, thus no resistance for a migrating storm. Translation: a migrating storm will be hindered from moving toward frequency transmissions and will easily migrate in a direction with no transmissions. So again, I ask, was Hurricane Helene's path and behavior just an act of nature, or was it engineered?
Whatever happened during Hurricane Helene, our own government is actively killing the victims of the flooding.
We're in Nashville, and I saw 2 Air Force helicopter 60s, and I knew they were PJs just looking at them. And I went up to them like, hey guys, like, what are y'all doing? And like, this is what you need to be doing. This is how I'm finding people. And they're like, we can't go. We're waiting on Title 10 orders. And I'm like, what? They can't get any authority. There's military helicopters all over here sitting on the ground, and they can't do nothing. Even my JSOC boys in Fayetteville, they can't get orders to come out here. It is just the most disgusting thing, and they're killing these people. And I don't know why they're doing it. I don't know what kind of conspiracy. I've heard so many things, whatever you want to come up with. But they are literally allowing these people to fucking die in the mountains right now because we can't get helicopters.
Not only is the government standing down, they are stopping others from helping. And there are even reports that the confiscated donations are being delivered to sanctuary cities.
So I'm here in Boone, North Carolina. I'm at the staging area. I volunteered myself and my canines to come up and do some search and rescue efforts. Obviously, you see all my equipment. So we've been told to just turn around and go the opposite direction, because what they're doing is they're confiscating everything. Like, they would confiscate all of my gear, my car, my dogs, like literally everything. There are some people who have been tracking these FEMA agents and what they do with these supplies after, and these are people that are directly associated with the group that I'm volunteering with. And essentially what they're doing is they're taking these supplies to sanctuary areas for illegal migrants and giving it all to them.
An unmarked black helicopter was caught on camera deliberately causing thousands of dollars of damage to a donation and support center. The government is no longer trying to hide. They are now killing us out in the open. And the radical Marxists working at FEMA are not really concerned with most of the people.
LGBTQIA people and people who have been
let me pause this just for the sake of the AI and stuff like that, because it's a live stream and stuff, right? That's it. The sound bites is going to continue.
Already are struggling. They already have their own things to deal with. So you add a disaster on top of that, it's just compounding on itself.
You know, the shift that we're seeing right now is a shift in emergency management from utilitarian principles where everything is designed for the greatest good for the greatest amount of people to disaster equity.
We, the people, point out that they are killing us, and they complain that it's hurtful.
What kind of impact has this had on the recovery effort?
It has a tremendous impact on the comfort level of our own employees to be able to go out there, but it's also demoralizing.
Right after the government says they don't have enough money for the American people stricken by the floods, and that another storm is coming, they announce another $157 million to the people of Lebanon. Joe Biden makes another Freudian...
Hey, can you guys do me a favor out there? You know, just to help the people out there, just in case they don't know about this stuff. Show the bro some love, write some comment, hit thumbs up, because this stuff, it got to be spread. It has to be spread. Now, with the podcast be up by tomorrow, I don't know. But we can give the good old try, right?
Flip and says the government's response will be to increase the number and intensity of these extreme weather events.
The response is to increase the number and intensity of the extreme weather events and be wary. We're going to use all the resources available to the government to do it.
And many are now saying that this is exactly what they did with Milton, which is now expected to be catastrophic. Reporting for InfoWars, this is Greg Reese.
All right. That's a nice little report. Well, since I'm here, right? And I'm going to play this interview, which I find very fascinating due to the fact that I'm not new to this topic. I'm not new to this topic. For many years, I've been aware of what has been taking place, because, like I mentioned on my previous podcast, part 1, part 2, this is part 3, that I'm not an expert about it, but I have an understanding regarding to geoengineering for many years. So if you bear with me, I want to play a soundbite here, an interview actually with this gentleman that he's been doing this thing for quite some time. He knows the data. He knows, and not only him, but other members, because you have to understand and realize, okay, this is not new. This is not new, gentlemen. This technology is not new. It's not. You can look it up and you can Google it, and the papers out there. It's out there. For everyone to see. To read. Government papers. All you got to do, simple research, geoengineering, history, this and that, blah, 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 and just go back to, and just go back. Me, I'm going back. Go through the articles and dig in and deep in a rabbit hole. You be surprised how long this shit been going on. Well, no further ado, I'm gonna play you soundbite for a good 20 minutes. Then you can go to Infowars.com. You can watch the whole thing live. I mean, video out there. You know, I do not only get information from one source. I get information from different sources, because that's how my brain works. Okay, let me verify. This. What is the possibility? What is this? What is that? Is that equal to this? Equal to that? Then at the end of the day, I come out with my own conclusion. Right? That's how we're supposed to be as human. Especially in the modern, not modern, information age. We live in an information age. It's out there. It's out there. So let me play this fascinating fucking interview, dude. Real shit. Fascinating. Oh, bear with me. Yeah, my apologies. My apologies, gentlemen.
The last 25 years. You are, hands down, the last 25 years, the leading organization group of the scientists and others testifying to, legislatures, Congress, you name it, exposing the real documents, the real admissions of this thing hiding in plain view.
And InfoWars have been so pivotal and key in helping to blow this issue out into the open. Your voice is heard around the world. InfoWars is known around the world, and at geoengineering.org, we're immensely grateful to you and InfoWars for your help with sounding the alarm on this issue. We believe an unexpected jog toward the southeast, toward the Yucatan Peninsula, where a massive transmitter in Cancun nudged it back on course, and we recorded those transmissions as well. It spun up to, we believe, earlier than they had scheduled it to. It spun up to the strong Cat 5 that we saw, again, making it much more difficult to manipulate. So it may have gone off course a bit from where it was scheduled to go. Bottom line is these storms are being steered, period. If we go all the way back to 1947, Alex, I know you know this, many of your listeners do as well, but Project Cirrus, the U.S. military's initial onset of manipulating hurricanes, how far have they come since then? And again, for people to deny climate engineering at this point is absolutely ludicrous. We know
you have to be crazy.
Project Popeye in Vietnam in the 60s, historical record, U.S. military
You have to be nuts
at controlling precipitation over that country, that by the mid-70s, we have international treaties forbidding weather modification in wartime, not that anybody pays attention to those. So, Alex, this is nothing short of weather warfare, period. The degree to which the climate system has been derailed by these operations is total at this point. So the bottom line is we have an industry that, in the case of the federal weather modification or weather disseminating agencies, are being gagged. And in case of the local meteorologists, they're just concerned about their paychecks and pensions. And Alex, they're literally reading scripts. The skies you see right there in that video are so typical in so many regions. And we have the local meteorologists days in advance, sometimes a week in advance, stating that a day will be mostly sunny or filtered sunshine. And that's filtered sunshine. How would that meteorologist know a week in advance that there's going to be aerosol spraying operations on those days unless they're reading a script? This is a virtual fight for life. We cannot hide from what they're dispersing in our skies. It's not only disrupting, derailing the planet's life support systems, including the ozone layer, hydrological cycle. It's contaminating virtually everything on the planet, every breath we take. But if we put a big enough break in the dam, Alex, that they can't plug, we will indeed cause a shockwave around the world as we awaken populations to what their government has been and is doing to them without their knowledge and consent. And this, again, goes back decades, Alice. We're not dealing with sanity. We're dealing with a headless, heartless, soulless cancer.
All right, Milton is set to slam into Florida and continue to be a hurricane as it goes from the west to the east. They're saying one of the worst hurricanes ever. Dane Whittington has been coming on my broadcast for over 20 years. And of course, he had his background in solar energy and working with Bechtel Power Corporation and also advising legislatures, governments, you name it. He's a filmmaker, author, geoengineeringwatch.org. He's the head of that, the preeminent group that goes with the science and the facts. So we can talk about the history of weather control and weather weapons, what's currently happening. Look at these two storms. The Democrats admitting it's going to disrupt Republican areas from voting. That's magically where it's all hitting. Both of these storms, geoengineeringwatch.org. Also, the big news broke in the last 2 days. Breaking: lawmakers briefed on weather modification tech conclude hurricanes, DOD-linked weather weapon deployed against American people. We're going to be talking to him about all of this here in just a moment. But first, I want to play a few clips of him recently talking about this. Here's the first one.
The question here is, how does this hurricane's path differ from others that we've seen? I've already had a lot of people call me from the Asheville area, talk specifically about the horrendous damage, and many of them pointed out that that is not Hurricane Alley per se. It's not an area that normally attracts storms. Can you help us understand this?
Well, the bottom line is it was directed there, as the transmission recordings clearly show. They kept that moisture corralled there to deluge in the same location. So again, these are patented technologies, and the fact that we have the entire so-called meteorological community denying that this is going on to protect their paychecks and pensions is absolutely criminal at this point. We know we have private defense contractors that are neck deep in the patents that manipulate these storms, Raytheon, Lockheed Martin. We know those two in particular do the weather modeling for the nation's weathermen, National Weather Service and NOAA. Again, both agencies have an illegal federal gag order on them. So at this point, this is an emperor has no clothes moment. That's the best description I can give for something that is so blatantly obvious and inarguable, can only be considered weather warfare at this point. And the fact that, again, the so-called science community is denying this manipulation is criminal. It's absolutely criminal, Colonel McGregor.
Here's one more clip of him specifically talking about Helene. Then we'll get into Milton. He can go wherever he wants with this. But it's a fact that they have the power to kill these hurricanes. They're bare minimum not doing that, which is an action in and of itself. They're in control of it by not blocking it, but clearly there's evidence with these flight paths and things that is being manipulated. We'll talk about how they're able to do that and more with them in a moment. There's one more clip.
If you can do so, could you tell us about some of your recent discussions, conversations, briefings that you've had with political leaders from the states in question that have asked you what you think? First of all, what did they specifically ask you, if you can tell us, and how did they respond to your answers?
Yes, Colonel McGregor, I had an hour conference call yesterday with the representatives and senators from the Carolinas, and we presented the data to them to answer their questions about how this manipulation occurs, They realized this was not a natural event. They're trying to digest the fact that their states were literally under assault from weather modification operations that are clearly connected with DoD operations, and we can speculate again on the agendas and objectives being carried out, but the fact that the storm was manipulated is absolutely inarguable. We know that technology to stop these rotations from even occurring has existed for decades with the manipulation of atmospheric pressure zones. HARP in Alaska is one example many people are familiar with. That's an ionosphere heater. That's a weapon of mass destruction, period. It can cause an electrical chain reaction in the ionosphere, which heats it to extraordinarily high temperatures, which causes the atmosphere to bulge up and down. The downward push creates a high pressure dome that can steer the jet stream. And the same type of manipulation can create low pressure zones. When they have this type of power over the climate system, they can make or break these storms anytime they want. And again, what we see now is storms kept weaker as they're over the ocean because they're harder to steer until they reach the land-based network of transmitters. And then we have, Colonel McGregor, rapid intensification. You've heard that term probably a lot lately.
Oh, yeah.
Because that's how they manipulate these storms. And again, we have Acapulco last October being the extreme example of rapid intensification. An insignificant low pressure system developed into the strongest Cat 5 hurricane to ever hit that part of the world in less than 24 hours, laid waste to Acapulco. And by the way, Hurricane John, which just hit Acapulco again as Hurricane Helene was wreaking havoc in the Carolinas. Not many people know that. So Acapulco just got dealt another blow. So again, how many agendas and objectives are being carried out when we know they can manipulate these storms, when we know they can make or break them anytime they want? And again, I bring up the oil infrastructure in the Gulf of Mexico that seems to magically miss any sort of damaging storm again and again and again, while the storms wreak havoc inland and on shorelines. It's not a coincidence. They have that much sway over.
Now, let's be 100% clear, and we'll go to our guest and give him the floor. We have the CIA director, 2015.
Like I say, this is not new to me. You fellas out there, you probably think it's like, oh, Kent Rican, he's a conspiracy theorist. No. No. I'm not. I've been knowing this for quite some time, man. The way I see this thing happening this year, the only way I can describe it is a massive destruction of weapon. Do you know how much a hurricane damage can do? If you've never been in one, you don't have a clue. You don't have a clue. It's devastating. It is. And the fucked up part is they're putting these mass destruction weapons in the citizens. The citizens of the United States. There's no other way to look at it, in my point of view. One man talking here. Just one man talking here. And I've been following this shit for quite some time, my friends. I'm not crazy. I am not. I'm rational. It's a weapon of mass destruction. It's a weapon of mass destruction committed to United States citizens. Bottom line, I cannot. That's the only way I can describe this shit. No other way around it. It's a weapon of mass destruction. When they take away land, when they do this and do that, people die. They flood and stuff. It's weapon. It's a weapon. It's a weather weapon. There's no other word to describe it. No. They can do something, manipulate the weather, but guess what? There's going to be some private funding. There's some universities out there chasing this shit. Look at the pattern. Hurricanes, yes, it does happen. They can veer off. They can do this. But a Category 5 coming from the Gulf of Mexico? Impossible. As a little kid, they taught us that when hurricane happens, it's when they meet the waters between Africa and the Atlantic, and it goes to the warm water, the cold water meets the hot water and can develop a hurricane. All right? And it can hit the Caribbean, it can hit this. It's always been like that. It was only another case, and I forgot, it was like 5 years ago, they started in the Gulf of Mexico. And I thought to myself, when hurricanes started in the Gulf of Mexico, they end up at the Gulf of Mexico. Yes, and a tropical storm and shit. They don't start there. Come on. So let me play you another few minutes out here. Then on the videos or the podcast that I created in this series of the weather geoengineering, I linked in articles so you can look it up for yourself. A few articles and shit like that. So let's give it another 5 minutes and then you can look it up. I will put the links of everything that I did in tonight's podcast with the teacher and so on and so forth. So let's play another minute here.
16 in speeches saying we can do this, we've been doing it, but we don't want to tell the public about it because of lawsuits. So it's going on. We have the leading expert, Dave Whittington, on with us, geoengineeringwatch.org. Right now, there's so many places to start, so many places to go here. So, Dane, I'm just going to give you the floor here to go where you think first.
So the bottom line, and what's on the screen now, I want to explain that quickly. These are localized, quote, weather modification operations that are designed as a smokescreen to mask the unfathomably larger climate intervention operation. So picture whatever particulate matter is going up on that screen, right, that's shown right now. You might have a few grams of material floating in.
So what he's doing Let me describe the video. So what he's doing, the engineers are putting like little rockets with the chemicals they put out there, and doing a sort of like a small experiment, right? Because you know you're dealing with engineer people, okay? These people, that's what they do. They engineer stuff, and they understand engineering. That's why they call it geoengineering, weather modification. So he's dealing with engineers and stuff like that. So what he's trying to explain, they did this experiment on an open field with small little rockets that contain the same chemicals, and they made it like into a small cloud of 20 feet below ground. Fascinating.
In the sky, compare that with the KC-135 military tanker that's dumping 100 tons of toxic nanoparticles in one payload. So again, we have a power structure that's tried to mask the climate engineering operations with, quote, weather modification operations that are publicized, that are known. The single engine propeller driven aircraft, many times, Alex, with a few flares on the wings that might drop, in that case, 5 kilos of material into the sky. Again, compare that with a KC-135 that will dump 100 tons in a single payload.
Yeah.
In fact, Alex, we've extrapolated, I'll leave with this, but we've extrapolated based on our testing at geoengineeringwatch.org, and we took a NOAA, National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, flying lab to altitude, which no private party will ever get access to again. That was a set of extenuating circumstances and great expense for us. But we took that to altitude with top scientists. It's all in the Dimming documentary. We sampled what heavy aircraft were emitting. We processed that at Rensselaer Polytechnic in New York, world-renowned lab, found what we knew we would find, starting with aluminum nanoparticles. So working with University of Minnesota, with hundreds of lab tests, we have extrapolated what the likely global dispersion of these elements is, and that's about 40 to 60 million tons annually. So is it any wonder, Alex, that every other commercial on TV is asthma this, COPD that, respiratory everything? And yes, there's pollution. We recognize that. We're not denying that. But when you have this intentional dumping of nanoparticles that are extremely inflammatory to the respiratory systems of toxic elements, aluminum, barium, strontium, manganese, polymer fibers, surfactants, there's HAARP that you're showing now. And that HAARP is an ionosphere heater. It's directional. They can bounce that signal off the atmosphere and bring it down in places over a great spectrum.
The director told me on air at the time they can ignite the atmosphere. It's so powerful.
Yeah, I've heard him say that.
I'm going to be truthful with you gentlemen out here. In my city, it's against the law to collect rainwater. Now, I'm going to repeat myself. In my city, it's against the law to collect rainwater. For the last 5 years. And it dawned on me, it's like, could it be the clouds with the chemicals in it and stuff like that? They don't want people to collect it and drink it. Is the government, the local government, trying to protect their local citizens? I don't know, but I found it fascinating due to the fact, like I mentioned previously, I live really close from a military base, and this geoengineering has been taking place in my eyeballs for quite some time. And I was wondering about that today. After watching this, I was like, hold on. No wonder they banned collecting rainwater. But I digress. My apologies. Let me play another 5 minutes, and I put the links of all that I discussed today underneath the podcast. I think I got a little bowl of weed to smoke here, for heaven's sake. No cough. There we go. We got it.
That and we can't know the totality of their capability. What HART does transmits 3.6 million watts of power into the electrically charged ionosphere, causes an electrical chain reaction, which superheats that layer of the atmosphere and causes the atmosphere to expand up and down. Alex, you've probably heard the term heat dome, high pressure heat dome a lot lately. We hear the meteorologists saying it all the time, right? So that's what you get from an ionosphere heater, a high pressure heat dome. That compressing air, and we're experiencing that in the West Coast right now. It's like living in hell. Temperatures never cool down day or night, and you have very little air movement under that heat dome, and they can circulate the jet stream in a clockwise manner around that heat dome in the northern hemisphere and direct it back down to other locations. So the degree to which the climate system has been derailed by these operations is total at this point.
Now, expanding on my question about the level of the awakening you're seeing, I appreciate the credit to us, but we're all in this together, and people are interested in the general public. Why do you think you're seeing such a mass awakening, A, and then B, just like the Manhattan Project went on for 4 or 5 years, they kept it totally secret, hundreds of thousands of people working on it. Well, we know there's all these other big projects, and we have all the CIA documents I showed them yesterday admitting it was a giant secret project starting in the 60s. It even went back to 47, but officially in the 60s, going into full scale, saying it was their most important project in documents I showed yesterday. And so we're trying to expose this thing much bigger than the Manhattan Project that's hidden in plain view. So can you speak to both those questions?
Yeah, the way you frame that is exactly correct. Exactly correct. And people who deny this because they say it couldn't be hidden, it isn't being hidden. It's simply being denied. Anybody that's not clinically blind can see what's going on in our skies. You don't have grid patterns one day and nothing the next with similar atmospheric conditions unless something's being dispersed in our skies. And we have up close film footage of these aircraft, Alex, KC-10s, KC-135s, C-17s, nozzles visible turning on and off. Nothing's being hidden. We just have a public that wants to be lied to and wants to believe those lies, and that's finally, thankfully, breaking down as the public is being personally impacted by these operations. So the quote hiding of this issue is no different than pretending that certain medical treatments are quote safe and effective when they're anything but. For decades, we have the whole medical industrial complex going along with that. And it makes it easier to hide also, Alex, when you have illegal federal gag orders on National Weather Service and NOAA, National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, all agency operations under that gag order. So the bottom line is we have an industry that, in the case of the federal weather modification or weather disseminating agencies, are being gagged. And in case of the local meteorologists, they're just concerned about their paychecks and pensions. And Alex, you're literally reading scripts. The skies you see right there in that video are so typical in so many regions. And we have the local meteorologists days in advance, sometimes a week in advance, stating that a day will be mostly sunny or filtered sunshine. And that's filtered sunshine. How would that meteorologist know a week in advance that there's going to be aerosol spraying operations on those days unless they're reading a script?
Well, then we have, while they deny all this the last decade, all these thousands of headlines, CBS News, NBC News, BBC, they did it in Europe as well. Oh, there's a project to spray sunscreen to stop global warming and to dim the earth, and Bill Gates is involved. So they admit there's a project, and then you've got the former CIA director admitting there's a project in testing, but we don't want to, quote, scare the public, so we can't really talk about it. And then meanwhile, there's just this giant program. Then they admit what?
You know,
I've seen a NASA report.
It's so funny because I read that it's like, or some kind of like conspiracy theory, and I took it like a conspiracy theory, to be honest. that Bill Gates want to block the sun, some shit like that. And I was like, how the fuck you can block the sun? How the fuck you can do that, you know? How? I don't know how. I don't think they will. The sun is a star. It's going to be there. They can try it. You know, that's another question that I have to research for myself. I know this shit sounds crazy, man. Trust me. I know this shit sounds crazy. It sounds bananas. It sounds bananas, man. Crazy as fuck. It does sound crazy as fuck. But it's not. It's all on the public. Look it up for yourself. Look it up. Look all this shit up on the internet. It's there. It's there. I don't know if you recollect, but I do, because obviously I know a little bit of the subject, about the subject. I don't even know, it was like not that long ago when Dubai got flooded like a motherfucker. Flooded. And the reason they manipulate the weather, due to the fact they had a drought. It hasn't rained like a year, some shit like that. So their own government decided to be cute and do this weather manipulation and shit. And 155 people died. Cars got washed up and shit like that and stuff like that. Look it up. Watch the videos. Right away, I knew it. I was like, oh, somebody want to play God out here. And look what they fucking done did. You know? Gentlemen, we're not in Kansas anymore. We're not in Wonderland anymore. We're not in the Jacksons and shit. We are right here, right now, dealing with real technology that has been taking place for years. The rule is they have to tell it. They have to say what is happening. They have to let you know in advance what is happening. That's the rule of the devil. if you want to be ignorant about it, well, that's on you. That is on you. I can sleep tonight because the reason I've been harpooning on this subject is not because I'm an expert or anything like that. I have experience. I lived through it. I'm still living through it. I did my research. I understand it. And I realize it. And I'm not in denial. And I'm fine that people can think or call me crazy. Do you actually think this is my first, like when I mentioned this topic with geoengineering, which I put it like briefly, this is not like my main topic that I discuss with people, but I was like, hey, have you seen this? And that kind of funny how that works. You crazy. And I shut my mouth. I don't mention it. See, the reason I do this right in this podcast, and I'm going to be honest with you, because I can discuss this topic on a global scale. If I talk to my neighbor, I talk to this person about this and harpoon about it, they probably think I'm crazy. And I realize because everybody got their own problem and issues and stuff like that. And that's why I'm a content creator. I can discuss different topics, different issues, different things. And this is just one of those things that I really understand it and I get it. And I am a grown man, and I understand the history, I understand the science, I understand a lot of issues with this geoengineering. I'm not naive. I know what's taking place, you know, and stuff like that. I don't put shit for like views or whatever. You know, all I'm doing is just trying to provide the information. And first of all, the first thing I'm doing is expressing my First Amendment right to express myself however I want to express myself. That's it. People can leave it or take it or whatever. Well, gentlemen, it's been a pleasure tonight. So far, they haven't taken down the last 2 live streams regarding to this topic. And my deepest apologies, you know, to harp in this topic. But God damn it, shit. I hope that the people of Florida, the Carolinas, Tennessee, Alabama, Virginia, I hope they realize what took place. In these 2 weeks. I hope. And I pray to the universe for those people that are suffering. In floating waters and having their home demolished, having their car not working, not having food, not having basic necessities. I will give a special prayer to the universe to give those people strength. Strength. And love and compassion. I really do. Well, gentlemen, like I always say, peace. Stay MGTOW. Let the universe be with you.